Shalom, this is Jonathan Bernis. To all of our Facebook friends, I want to wish you a very happy Hanukkah and just give you a little devotional about this wonderful celebration over the next few days. 8 days, in fact, that will celebrate Hanukkah, and I'll talk more about why 8 days a little later on in the week. But let me begin by giving you the background for what is known as the Feast of Dedication or the Feast of Lights. We have to rewind back in history to about almost 200 years before the birth of the Messiah, 167 BC. Israel is under the occupation of the Syrians. A brutal Syrian leader named Antiochus Epiphanes IV has invaded Israel, and he's a madman, a tyrant, and he begins to force the Jewish people to bow down and worship their gods. In fact, he was a megalomaniac who wanted to be worshipped himself as a god. And the problem there is that in Judaism, you have the very first commandment being the commandment to avoid idolatry and only worship the Lord. And so Antiochus Epiphanes begins to kill defiant Jewish people that refuse to bow down to him. And you have an uprising occurring in a little town called Modin, which is close to the modern Ben Gurion Airport today. If you fly into Israel and drive to Jerusalem, you'll pass this little town where this uprising began. It began with a man named Judah ben Matthias, the son of Matthias. Actually, his father refused to bow down and worship along with his family. He was put to death, and Judah began an uprising. He grabbed a sword from one of the Syrian soldiers, and others in his family began to fight back, and they formed what became, in recorded history, the first guerrilla army, the first army that practiced guerrilla warfare. And just with a few thousand men, they defeated the Syrian armies. This family and those that followed their leadership became known as the Maccabees. And this is the basis of the story of Hanukkah, the miracle of God using this small army of guerrilla fighters to defeat an army, the Syrian army that greatly outnumbered them, and restore freedom to the nation of Israel. Tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about the miracle of Hanukkah and what happened in the temple and why we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days. Again, this is Jonathan Bernis wishing you a very happy Hanukkah.